Hello everyone again. So we solved the part A of this question. It was the interval to find the interval increasing and decreasing for this quadratic function. In part B, it is asking where on which interval your function has values less than 0 and your function has values more than 0. In this case, we need to see which part of the graph is below the x-axis and which part of the graph is above the x-axis. What does that mean? For example, since this is a function, we have inputs and outputs, okay? So for example, if input is negative 1 is 0 point, yeah? So go to the function we have here. So which means that this is negative 5. So for negative 1 input, your function has negative 5 input. Means that output is less than 0. It means that for this in negative 1 input, still, so if negative half, for example, your output still smaller. For negative 1.5, your output still small. For negative 2, your output still smaller. Your output still smaller, okay? For example, again, if you have a 5, your input is 5, your output is here, negative 5. Means for 5, for 4.5, 4.3, so for 5.5, your output for this function always less than 0 because of the part of the function is below the x-axis and part of the function is below the x. When you choose numbers between 0 and, for example, when you choose input 1, okay, output is what? 3 here. Okay, means f of 1 is 3, which is bigger than 0. So I can say f of 1 is bigger than 0. So I'm looking for where f of x is bigger than 0, where f of x is less than 0. So which part of the graph is above the x-axis and which part of the graph below the x-axis. So we need to find for what kind of values of x. So since we have given 4 intervals, let me write those. Let me write those, or let me draw those intervals here. Okay, so those intervals here. So I will just insert some lines. Okay, one of the interval is x less than 0, means this part. Okay, x less than 0, this interval. Okay, let's say other interval is this 0 to 2. Okay, and the next interval is 2 to 4, this interval. We can take it a little bit left, no problem. Okay, and the fourth interval is this side. So I have, let me name them, okay? Let me name them. Interval 1, which is x less than 0. Interval 2, interval 1, which is x less than 0. Interval 2, which is x between 0 and 2. Interval 3, which is x between 2 and 4. And interval 4, which is x bigger than 4. Okay, in which interval your part of the function is above the x-axis or your part of the function is below the x-axis. So here x less than 0, x less than 0 is first interval. When x less than 0, part of the graph is below the x-axis, so you will drag f of x, means all your outputs less than 0. In the second interval, your output is above the x-axis. Because of that, you need to put, because when you see second interval part of the graph is above the x-axis. So you need to put this when outputs are bigger than 0. Okay? When you come to third interval, again, your part of the graph in third interval is above the x-axis. You plug you drag this in f of x bigger than 0. When x is bigger than 4 in this interval, your part of the graph is below the x-axis. Because of that, for x bigger than 4, f of x values are less than 0. So you drag this, I don't want to draw straight, or we can do it straight here, okay? You drag it straight here, okay? This interval, x bigger than 4, belong to here, x less than 0 belong to here, other two, they belong to here. I hope you understand where are the intervals where the function is bigger than 0 or less than 0. In a simple way, you need to look for the part of the function where above the x-axis or below the x-axis for the given interval. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.